Stitchers, and welcome back to my channel. It is Jenny of Jenny Stitches, and I am flying in for a quick chat about the last couple of weeks of the sewing bee. Now, I didn't make it in time to film last week's video. Let me tell you that last week was a week and a half. I think I worked 7 days last week, which was fun. And usually my slot to film these videos is on a Wednesday morning, and I kind of got overtaken by other events. Been spending a lot of time renovating upstairs recently, and I really want to get that project finished by the end of June. So yeah, that's kind of been eating into all my spare time, and a lot of my any time that I'm not in the shop, I'm out shopping for bits and pieces and running errands to sort that project out. And then on Wednesday it just snowballed and I didn't get filmed, and I was going to film later on in the week, and then I had a social and a class, and yep, I won't bore you with the details, but needless to say, it kind of got packed. However, last week was week 4, which was reduce, reuse and recycle. And I think I've mentioned in the past when I've done these videos, I don't think it's overly environmentally responsible of me to sit here and try and sell you new fabric off the back of Reduce, Reuse and Recycle Week. For my own thoughts towards the sustainability of the fabric industry are quite complex, and without getting too deep into sort of the discussions around capitalism and overconsumption, that can be very hard to play off against needing to make a living and needing to run a business. So that's a whole debate for another day, but what I do want to conclude by saying there is that I 1000% agree in upcycling and reusing wherever possible, and also making the most of every scrap of fabric that we buy rather than wasting it. So if you would like to know more about what we do here at Jenny Stitches, in terms of my waste here within the business, all of my small fabric scraps that cannot be sold or used are donated to a local charity, which is goes via a lady who comes to collect the bags of scraps, and she subsorts them into usable pieces which can be upcycled into small items for sale, such as small bags or scrunchies, that kind of thing. And anything that can't be used is then sold by weight, and all of the proceeds from those activities go to St Mary's Hospice. So I am quite happy that I dispose of my scraps in the most responsible way that I can. Obviously it's impossible to know that end-to-end process. And where possible, I also try and reuse whatever I can for my own personal sewing. So in terms of keeping pieces for pocket bags, that sort of thing, for linings, for projects when the children come to play, that kind of thing. So try and waste as little as possible, and we have several bins out at any one time here. There's one for paper and card, which then goes off to be recycled. There's one for the fabric scraps, and then I also take all of my recycling home to be recycled, because we don't have trade recycling here. So I'm quite passionate about doing my bit for the environment where I can. However, I did thoroughly enjoy the episode. I thought the organza bag was really cool. Maybe not so well executed in some circumstances, but I have seen a lot of those organza projects around and about, on TikTok in particular. I think they've been very popular. And I'll just quickly show you in the companion guide here for the series, we do have a confetti quilted bag, but it's a tote bag rather than the small clutch that they were making on the show. So that's lovely. And the upcycling a wedding dress challenge was just hilarious, wasn't it? Really, really impressed by the people that had painted their fabric. I know Alex had done that and she'd won Garment of the Week, I think. Just incredible, and such lovely results. And I guess with a wedding dress you really do have such a lovely blank canvas and such a lot of fabric to reuse, and they are very cheap in second-hand shops. So it's nice to give something like that a second lease of life. And in my kind of way of thinking, I think you know, maybe that wedding dress is there because that marriage didn't end very well. And maybe it's nice to then take something that doesn't have a happy story attached to it and give it a new positive start. That really works for me mentally. I like that idea. However, I do think that Marcus was possibly a little bit crackers for cutting up his wife's wedding dress. I am not sure I would condone that one myself. I don't think I could cut my own up, even though it's just boxed in the loft, but there was a lot of tulle in my wedding dress, and there's nothing that I want to make with that much tulle on it. Okay, so I'm going to move past that and go straight into talking about week 5, which was India week. I think it's nice that with each series we're looking at new sort of cultural angles, and personally I find that really interesting to get that history around garments and textiles. Obviously the textile industry in India is huge and full of such a rich cultural heritage, in particular around sort of the cottons and things like that. And I know a lot of the fabrics that I stock do originate in India, so it's really fascinating. I found the part where they were talking about calico and Madras cotton really interesting, and it's just nice to add to that knowledge. I knew what calico fabric was, but I didn't know where it came from and the history that it had there, so that's really interesting. So in terms of the pattern challenge, they were making the Nehru jacket. How cool was this? I think I saw a picture of it on Idris Elba. Oh my heart, what a handsome man. But yeah, really fascinating how a style such as that then becomes mainstream fashion, and I just think that was lovely how it was all tied in and inspired. Some of the examples that we saw were not great, were they? Making welt pockets under pressure is the kind of thing that I would have nightmares about, to be honest. So that was, my heart went out to them in that situation. And I guess there's always that trade-off with the sewing bee of wanting to choose a fabric that's going to stand out and look different and be creative, but at the same time not setting yourself such a difficult challenge in terms of handling. And the brocades definitely did that. I don't feel like they really focused much though on how well, there goes the coffee machine. On how Pasha had used a double-sided brocade and reversed the sleeves and the welt flaps. I thought that was really nice. It was a lovely touch, and they didn't really touch upon that one. I'm not going to try and recommend patterns for that one because I'll be honest, I don't have anything that comes close, and I also don't want to stray into the territory of sort of cultural misappropriation or anything like that. So yeah, I'm sure that there will be patterns out there. If I hear of any, I will pop them in the comments. If you know of any, please pop them in the comments. But there isn't actually anything in my pattern box which would fit the bill, which probably says a lot about the pattern brands that we have here in the UK and not particularly culturally diverse. And there's probably a whole other debate there about, could there be more cultural diversity in our patterns, or is that needed or not? Let me know what you think. Fabrics wise, if I had to pick from my shelves, I've got a few things that I will show you here that I think would be suitable. Maybe not in this colour, but I'm going to show you my cotton twill. This is the only one that was on the bolt rather than the roll. But we've talked about this at length on the Friday Live videos. And this is a nice sturdy cotton with a fair bit of structure that's going to hold the welt nicely and just give you that shaping. Now, I imagine that if I was to make one personally, I would consider sort of block fusing all of the pieces with interfacing to give it more body. I don't know, having never made a Nehru jacket and seen how they go together, but I would suspect that there's slightly more tailoring techniques involved than were maybe shown last night, perhaps in terms of stiffening. But yes, cotton twill would be a lovely candidate. Also, I've got these all in the wrong order really. Also linen would be fabulous, and a nice weight of linen. This one is 230 GSM, grams per square metre. That's got plenty of body for making a jacket with. I also thought that baby cord would be lovely. You'd have to be careful with the direction of your nap, but that would make a nice, almost sort of semi-winterized option. Cotton canvas would also be good. And then also sort of jacquards and brocades. This is the animal print jacquard that I have, metallic animal print, and this just has a little bit of sparkle. I think that's very cool. Making the welts in this will be a bit of fun, but some of those issues with fraying last night probably could have been waylaid a bit with maybe overlocking some of the pieces before sewing and using a bit of fray stopper, a bit of prim fray check. Works wonders. So yeah, that was a jacket I thought was a lovely challenge, and I loved learning about it. Alex won that one with her navy linen jacket, and it was really, really good. She very much deserved to win that one. I'm liking Alex. I have good feelings about Alex. She seems very capable across the board, shall we say. So to me, I don't feel like there's a clear person that's going to win just yet, but I think Alex is definitely a contender in a lot of respects. She's doing very, very well. Okay. So the transformation was the Madras Trek with the calico. I stock two types of calico. I have bleached and unbleached calico. The unbleached, you can kind of see like it's got like little specks in it, like the husks. And the unbleached looks like a nice solid white cotton. So there you go. Just interesting to learn more about that. But the transformations were lovely. And again, Alex did really well on that one, didn't she? Oh, did she? No, it wasn't. It was Georgie, wasn't it? It was Alex that didn't use the calico. Sorry, getting mixed up. Which just seemed like a bit of an own goal on her part. But the maxi dress was beautiful. But oh dear. So yeah, that was a fun transformation. I think if I was going to do it, I would have maybe considered like colour blocking a little, maybe making some squares and maybe doing like a plain with a check with a plain with a check. I think would have been a good angle to go from. There's not often, like with the transformation challenge, I try and put myself in their shoes and think, what would I do in that situation? And the answer is usually panic. But yeah, that did pop in my mind for last night. I thought that would be a good idea. But I enjoyed that challenge, and the Lauren's placket down the crotch of those pants just made me laugh. There's something about it just looked so wrong. Okay, so the made to measure was the Sari-inspired dress, which was a lovely challenge. And again, you know, we don't have sewing patterns for saris in stock here. I'm fascinated to know whether traditionally they're probably not made to a pattern, I'm gonna guess. And I really enjoyed seeing everybody's interpretation of that challenge. I thought it was a really nice idea. And in particular, I thought Ailsa's, the way that she connected together the Indian culture with the Scottish culture, I just thought was very, very clever. Because, you know, she's entirely right. With the pleats and the draping of the sash, it's very, very similar, and it's kind of funny, isn't it? It's like funny how you can have different parts of the world that have such similarities in how they do things. That kind of thing just fascinates me. But I thought the way that she pulled the tartan into the garment and did that cohesively was just very, very clever. So yeah, and then I think I mentioned last time I filmed one of these videos that Ailsa's, to me, is one to watch, and again, yeah, definitely one to watch. So that was lovely. In terms of fabrics for that challenge, if I was to pick for my own shelves, the obvious choice would be my satin backed crepe, which has that beautiful flowing I'm going to show you this roll. This is why I don't like getting rolls out. That beautiful flowing drape, and you can see there we've got that movement and that sort of silky satin finish to it. That would be ideal. I think at least one of the contestants was using that. Luke was doing stretch velvet, wasn't he, for a drag queen inspired outfit, and I thought it was really clever. I loved his use of the magnets, and I guess that's something that if you're into drag, it's like a bit of a trade secret maybe. But I will show you my stretch velvet. This is in royal blue, and you can see it has a pretty epic sideways stretch on it there, so that is very beautiful. There we go. But yeah, he did really well. Oops a daisy. I just thought that was a really nice take. I'm really quite into Luke. I really do like him. I think he again is another contender in my eyes. There's no all-out favourite for me so far. And finally, I will just show you this lovely Duchess satin. This is fairly new in. Now, Duchess, in comparison to the satin back crepe, is a good bit stiffer. It has a bit more body. So when we're looking at maybe like the mini dress that Susie made, I think she used Duchess satin. It's just got that bit more body. It's going to hold pleats a lot firmer. Less sari-like for my liking, but it has its place, and I think it definitely did. Last night in the challenge, I'm just going to pop a picture of this pattern up, but I did notice that Georgie was using Simplicity 8870. As soon as she was cutting that pattern out, I was like, I recognise that. I recognise it from my pattern book. So I'm just I'll pop a picture of that in there for you and link it below. But yeah, amazing garment of the week, as I say, from Ailsa. Definitely very well deserved. I'm very sorry to say goodbye to Lauren. I think she just had a really bad week, and that's a shame. But otherwise, I thought she was great. She was really good in the sewing room and really funny. I thought she had a lovely sort of interplay with the presenters and a good sense of humour, so I'm quite sad to see her go. And on to Children's Week next week. Let's see what that brings. So very much a whistle-stop tour there, but thank you for catching up with me. I'm going to go and finish my coffee and get back to work. So take care, happy sewing, and bye bye.